Hey guys, I'm BSC1 again. Someone in the comments suggested that I build a Fighting Bats deck list and show it to you guys. So this is the list that I've been testing with and testing against for the past couple weeks. Alright, so as always, we'll start with the Pokemon. 2 Landorus EX. This is a great attacker. Spreading damage is amazing. Just being able to hit the active and the bench and do a lot of damage between those two attacks can be very strong. It sets you up for knockouts with your other Pokemon later. Works really well with Crobat because you have 2 ways of spreading damage, which can make it so you don't need Lysander as often, and just makes taking knockouts a lot easier. 2 Lucario EX, because unfortunately this deck does have weakness to water, so Seismitoad can be a problem. So you need another attacker with a different weakness because he is weak to water, so since Lucario is weak to Psychic, you can use him against anything that is a water attacker. Also, good because if you can't do the bench damage because of Mr. Mime or something like that, Lucario is more useful in that situation. Also good with Corkscrew Smash because you can draw cards if you ever end up with a hand that has no supporter in it. The Psychic weakness is kind of a pain, but then you have Landorus to use when your opponent is using Psychic type Pokemon. So they work really well as just alternative attackers. And then I actually don't have any Hawlucha with me right now, so these Meditite, I guess you're just going to have to pretend are Hawlucha. Hawlucha is a great attacker against Toad, which is one of the tougher matchups for this deck because of Landorus' weakness and just the item lock in general. But Hawlucha helps a lot with that. Also a really good starter because it has free retreat, so if you start with Hawlucha you can retreat to any of your other attackers or use it. Just good in general, it's just a strong attacker. 60 for 1 energy is extremely powerful. And then for the Bats line, there's 3 Crobat, 4 Golbat, and 4 Zubat. This is a really thick line. It can get clunky sometimes, but I feel like you kind of need the thick line just for consistency to make sure you get those bats out as soon as you can and do as much damage as you can, because that's what this deck is all about, is just doing as much damage as you can and knocking out things quickly. And then for the Shaman, I just run 2. This is 1 more than used to be run when Jirachi was out, because Shaman is just better than Jirachi. It's good draw, helpful with Super Scoop Up too, because this deck runs 4 Super Scoop Ups, so you can bring up Shaman and put it back down and draw more cards. Just a great card in general. And that is it for the Pokemon. Very consistency based. This deck is meant to be very consistent. No real techs in the deck. It's all about just doing the same thing every game, basically. Stadiums are 2 fighting and 1 silent lab. I wouldn't mind adding in a 3rd fighting stadium just because I feel like I need some sometimes, and silent lab isn't helpful in every matchup. But 1 silent lab is very good because Mr. Mime can be a problem. Just in general, decks need their basic Pokemon abilities a lot. So if you can shut those off, it's a big hindrance upon them usually, but not all the time. So I think the stadium line is pretty good. 1 more fighting stadium would be nice though. For supporters, there's 4 Juniper, 3 N, 2 Chorus, 3 VS Seeker, 2 Lysander, and 1 AZ. 4 Juniper are pretty much standard in every deck. There's not enough Shaman or other alternative draw support to warrant less than that for Juniper. Only 3 N because since you do have 2 Shaman and all these other draw supporters, it makes it so the 4th N isn't as needed. It's an easy cut for me at least, especially with Super Scoop Up because you can bring the Shaman back, use it again. And then AZ can even be considered a draw supporter sometimes because you can pick up Shaman and put it back down. AZ is extremely good because with the bats, you can just pick up a Crobat and then in the same turn put down Golbat and Crobat onto one of your Pokemon that was already evolved into Golbat and then do 50 damage. So it's essentially do 50 damage if you look at it that way. Also good for healing Pokemon that are damaged like Landorus. You can just pick it up. You only have to discard 1 energy because that's the pretty much the most energy you're going to have on a Landorus most of the time, so you can just pick it up and do damage again. Lysander is just great for bringing up whatever you need. You can do that bench damage with your bats and then Lysander something up and finish the knockout, or vice versa. VS great for getting back Lysander and AZ, just any supporter you need. VS is just a really powerful support or item card. And then 2 Chorus, just to draw you lots of cards because this deck can fill up the bench pretty quickly, and Chorus is just a great supporter in general. Items, 1 computer search. I toyed around with Scoop Up Cyclone. In the end, the consistency of Computer Search just was better in my opinion though, but Scoop Up Cyclone is a good second option. I think Computer Search is overall stronger though. 1 Sacred Ash. This deck runs a pretty thick bats line, so getting those bats back can be good. That's why there's the 1 Sacred Ash. 4 Ultra Ball, because you run tons of Pokemon, you need to be able to search out whatever you want whenever you need it. It's just very consistent. Gets you those Shamans when you need them too. 3 Muscle Band. This is just for extra damage. This deck has a lot of plussing, as you might call it, and that's just another way to do more damage. So 4 Super Scoop Up. This is to bring damage off of your attackers. This is to bring up your Crobats so that you can put them back down and do more damage. It's also to bring up Shamans so that you can draw more cards. Super Scoop Up is really strong in this deck. You can pretty much use it on anything you have on your board most of the time, and you just kind of have to decide which is the better benefit. So Super Scoop Up is an easy 4 of in this deck. Very powerful. I would definitely run 4. Energy Line. 4 strong, excuse me, and then 5 fighting. This seems to be enough, especially with the Super Scoop Ups, because you can just bring back the energy and put it back down. I don't really feel like you need more energy than this most of the time. Maybe one more, maybe 1 Professor's Letter. I wouldn't really recommend a Professor's Letter though, seeing as Toad is kind of a problem for the deck. I would just run another basic energy if you feel you need more, but this seems to be enough, and I'm happy with this. Alright, that is it for this video, guys. As always, thanks for watching. Comment if you want to tell me something, and subscribe for more.